What's up, guys? I figured that since we after last year had some feedback that a lot of people were feeling unsure how they could use Warcraft logs to like analyze their own play, and since I'm now gonna sit during lunchtime to go through the logs from yesterday, I figured I'll show one very useful little trick that you can learn from, hopefully, to check how well you are using your personals during a fight. So let's open Warcraft logs. And again, I just want to stress here, I've said this before, but I'm not an expert on Warcraft logs in any way, shape, or form. I really am not. I know maybe some new people in the guild are just better at this than I am, then that's awesome, and I'd really appreciate you teaching me more. But I'm self-taught, and this is how I would figure that out. So I'll go into the log that we have and take all wipes. So what I want to check now is how well did people use their own personals during the overlap of them having the chains and them getting hit by the tank debuff, right? Because that's what we've been talking about. That's the scariest moment in the fight, apart from like rollers and getting through the whole of the rollers and the intermission. The like damage-wise scariest part of the fight is the tank debuff with the 3 chains targets, because the way we do it, the strategy we do is with them in the middle, so they obviously take the most damage from the hit of the tanks. Okay, so that's what we want to check. So we'll go to queries. And you can actually check here, you can actually, before we go to queries, actually, let me show something else. If you're unsure what the abilities are called, because that you actually need to know the name of the abilities that you want to filter for, you can always go to just damage taken all abilities. And here we learn that the axe is called Cruciform Axe, the hammer is called Reverberating Hammer, and the chains are called Shadowsteel Chains. Okay, so now we know that. So we go into queries and we make a new query. And here we decide that we want a debuff one, a buff query, and we want it to be only match auras if the aura is present, and what we want it to match is Shadowsteel Chain. So a lot of people are scared of like queries, but as you can see, I make very small changes here. I just add debuff. You can obviously do more, but like 95% of all the queries I make are this simple. Basically, you just decide what type. If it's a debuff, you want to make sure it's here. If you, for example, one thing to know here is that if you want to check, for example, how much damage you do when you have PI up, you need to take that the aura should be on source, right? Because you were the guy doing the damage, but now it's on target because you're going to do damage taken. Small detail, but you'll figure it out. If something doesn't work, you can go here as well. Okay, so that's the first variable. That's the first important thing we want to know. But we also want to know we also want us to be taking damage from the debuff, from the tank debuff. So we learned that that's called Cruciform Axe and Reverberating Hammer. And the red color coding here means that it's a damage event. And if you, for example, take this Reverberating Hammer, this one, that's the debuff that the tanks gets before the hit. So this is the damage, so we don't need that one. Okay, so this is the first one we do. You can change it here, pin type, to filter or decorator. And let me just show you this real quick so my camera isn't in the way. You can actually see here that you just create pin. So now we've created a pin, and what we've done now is as long as it's decorator, nothing really happens. It just creates this bar here that is like, yeah, okay, doesn't really matter. But we can filter it. So here we can see how much damage we took from these abilities, which is, yeah, whatever. And then we can also do from ability, and here we can see that we took 200, this happened 204 times, this overlap, and 29 times Reverberating Hammers. Might be cast actually, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's go into a specific raider to check his usage. Let's take Hordy, just because if Hordy has fucked up, he won't cry himself to sleep tonight, hopefully. Please don't do it, Hordy. It would be really unfair to take a trial, for example. You can look that up yourself. Just know that I have looked it up for you too. I just won't put it in the video. Okay, so you can see that this overlap happened 25 times for Hordy. Okay, so 25 times during these 34 pulls, he had the chains active. The debuff was present on target, the Shadowsteel Chains. The damage event was from Crucible Axe or Reverberating Hammer. So this happened to him what did we say? 25 times. Okay, so now it would be really useful if you could just go into buffs, but I don't know how to do that. For some reason, the buff data doesn't get filtered by the filter. Maybe there's a way to do that, probably, but I actually don't know how. So I actually have to change the query here. And we have the query already, and we have this last one up. So we take end and we add another variable. So we take debuffs again, buffs, debuffs, present on target. And here also you need to know your personals. So for example, Astral Shift. If you have several personals here, you can just add more of them, right? You can just add all of them here and it's really good. Okay, so now we added Astral Shift. So we remember that he had 25 hits in total, and we changed the pin, and 18 hits. So out of the 25 times he got hit by this combo, he used his personal 18 times. And something that's pretty impressive in itself, or pretty high. But something I want to add here is just that you have to, when I analyze this data, I also have to take into account that, I mean, to be fair, in this specific scenario, there could be overlaps. You could get two chains and not have the buff up, right? The personal up in phase 1, for example. So it might be why you missed it. You might also, for some reason, if you have a long cooldown, like a 3-minute CD maybe, if you then get the second set of chains, you might not want to use it because you want to make sure to have it up in the second phase when there's more damage. So obviously when you analyze data, you can never say, oh, Hordy did 18 out of 25. That means he only did, what's that percentage-wise? Like 18 out of 25. Okay, he was playing at 72% of his strength. That's not a valid analysis of this, okay? It just doesn't make sense. It's not true. And one thing we can add here is that he actually did use it every time in phase 2, because the hammer is obviously in phase 2. But it's still a very useful way to be able to figure out how you're doing. You can obviously just go into specific pools and see what you did there and so on and so forth. But yeah, the only thing you really need to change here is this thing. So if you want to, I'll just add this link. I can even do this, go into queries, and then, oh no, right. Add this and just copy the pin for this. And the only thing you need to change here now, I'll add this to the post, and the only thing you need to change is the ability, because you might not have Astral Shift. Okay guys, I hope that taught you something. This is a really good way of being able to see your personal usage, and hopefully you can use that for something useful. You can do this with anything, obviously. Great. If you have any questions, just hit me up, and I'm happy to learn more about logs or teach you about logs. I think WarcraftLogs is really cool and really fun. So yeah, I'll see you guys next week, and have a good evening. Bye bye.